Good morning. Today we are going to discuss about add bean annotation from Spring Boot. The definition is a bean is an object managed by Spring IOC container. The Spring framework, bean instantiation, configuration, and assembly all are performed by Spring framework or IOC container. It's a backbone for creating objects, which means when you put add bin on the top of a method which is returning an object will be controlled by Spring Boot. Whenever Spring starts, it will find all add methods and create objects for those methods and keep the objects into Spring framework. Whenever the object is available, we can use straight away. We do not create objects for that. So the purpose is that the add actually we use method level. We do not put add on the top of the class. We put add on the top of method which returns an object. So those objects will be available at Spring container. We can use those objects whenever we need. So that's the purpose of add. And one more thing, whenever you put add on the top of a method, the class on the top of the class you should be specifying add configuration. This another annotation. So when you put add on the top of a method, you should put add configuration on the top of the class, which is mandatory. So let's look at the code. We have two classes, app config and my service. My service has get message, it returns a string. And if you look at app config, which has a method my service that is returning my service object. So it's returning an object I configured as add bin, means that my service will be considered as a bin. Spring container will create an object and make it available for us. And I configured the class app config as add configuration. So here, whenever any method we use as a bin, on the top of the class, we should be specifying add configuration. So Spring assume that it is a configuration for the Spring Boot and it will load the configuration and create objects for all the bins and available for us. Yeah, same thing I explained. So app config is a class and my service is another class, and we need to put add configuration on the top of the class which is having bins. The methods which are returning objects we can be configured as add bin. So same thing. So always beans will be having add configuration on the top of the class, which means Spring. We are telling Spring that hey, this is the configuration which has some beans in the class. Means few methods throwing in objects which are beans. Please consider these beans and maintain these beans. And configuration is like a class level, bean is like a method level. That's very important. And we have something called component annotation in the Spring Boot. Component and bean both looks good, I mean looks same, but component we use at the class level, bean we use at the method level. When you put add component on the top of the class, Spring will find those classes in the class path and create objects and make the beans or components available in the class path. When you put add bean on the top of the method, again it will load the classes and create objects and make it available at Spring container. So component is a class level, bean is a method level. And whenever we use bean on the top of the class, we should specify add configuration, which is important. Let's get into the code. Let's create a sample project. Spring Boot, bean demo, Java, Maven, 23 verify. Yeah, let's go for the latest Spring Boot. Create. Let's create my service. Spring get message. Done. Hello world. Yeah. Okay, public. So okay, this is my service class. Let's create app config. So what we do, we should get the my service object here. So what we do, my service rules. So this should be the method. So what I do, yes, yes, perfect. Click. So I am getting this object. So my service object here. So this should be the bean. Yeah, imported. Uh, Let's say configuration. So whenever we are making use of bean for the method level, we should say edit config on the top of the class. So okay, this is the main method. Let's do one thing. Let's put some results. My service. Okay. Okay. Let's run the application. See if my service is called. Means whenever the Spring starts, it's finding the configuration and loading this bean, and technically it's loading the class. I mean this class and this method, and it's creating an object, and it's available at Spring Boot. So this is how you can use edit bean. So this is like a method level. So thank you very much.